What's going on, YouTube? This is the Boxing Theorist, and for today's topic, I'd like to talk about the fight that's going down on June 4th between Devin Haney and George Kambosos. To get right into it, that's a fight that I'm looking forward to. It's a lot of good fights coming up between April 9th, leading all the way up until I think like May. They have straight bangers back to back every weekend. And I'm gonna be making videos on those fights, those upcoming fights. Like I'm looking forward to Jamel Charlo versus Brian Castano. I'm really looking forward to that bout. Tyson Fury is one of my favorite fighters, man. I mean, he's not in my top three. I mentioned that in an earlier video, but as far as I'll give him top five, man. He's ranked up there in my book. He's ranked up there amongst one of my favorites. His fight with Dillian White, looking forward to that one. Dillian White, glad to see him again. It's been a minute since he's been in the ring, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where he left off, from where he left off years ago. Yeah, man. Well, I think Dillian White, he had a fight. His last fight was against Provoking, which I believe, I don't remember whether it was called off or not, but anyway, back on, he did fight him, and he dropped Povetkin. That's what happened. My bad, y'all. But anyway, to get right back on topic, George Kambosos, as far as his style is concerned, he's one of those fighters who's capable of being balanced, where he can fight you from the outside and the inside. Has a good jab, uses it well, as we've seen him do against Teofimo, which was a hell of a fight. Teofimo Lopez that shocked me. That win that George Kambosos had over Teofimo shocked me. And I wasn't expecting George Kambosos to win that fight at all. I'm pretty sure, like the rest of us, most people probably didn't. Now, I did believe that it would be a good fight, but I didn't think he would win. And in the way he did as well, where he was literally smoking Teofimo. And it's ridiculous. If I'm not mistaken, I watched a post-fight interview where Teofimo thought that he won like 10 rounds to 2, which is ridiculous. I wonder what he thought when they went back and watched the tape, if he still had that same energy. But whatever, some fighters, they make excuses, and I'm not really rocking with that. But I do love Teofimo as a fighter, and I pray that he bounce back. And at 140, he's supposed to be going up to 140, and I pray that he continues to have a successful career, and don't let that loss to Kambosos kind of take over his mind. But George Kambosos has good feet. He has a good jab. He has good footwork. He has head movement. Can get clipped at times, but most fighters do. Has a good chin as well. I gotta add that in there. Has a good chin as well. Durable. Has good stamina and endurance. Yeah, man. I mean, as far as Devin Haney, we all know he's one of those outboxers that I love to watch. Slick fighters. Guys who can make you miss and make you pay. Devin Haney has a phenomenal jab. And he has a high ring IQ to top it off. I mean, goes to the body, goes up top, mixing this attack. Man. And see, I'm one of those guys. First and foremost, I like to say this. I like to bet online. And it's something about underdogs that I typically like to root for underdogs because of the fact that when you're betting, you're capable of getting more money betting on the underdog. So that's why I said what I just said. A part of me, but see, at the same time, I love Devin Haney. George Kambosos, I like him as well. Undisputed champion. Um, Even with all I said about George Kambosos, as far as picking a winner, I would have to lean more towards Devin the Dream Haney. And the reason why is because Devin Haney, when he's at his best, and especially when he's having it his way, I mean, he makes it difficult for shorter opponents to have their way with him. Doing everything he can to stay on the outside. He does a great job of keeping the fight at a respectable distance for him. And George Kambosos, in order for George Kambosos to win, he's going to have to do everything in his power to make it a dogfight. It wouldn't be a good idea for him to box with Devin Haney because Devin Haney's clearly the better boxer. So, George Kambosos is going to have to use his jab to work his way inside. He's going to have to really bank to Devin Haney's body consistently throughout that fight. He's going to have to start round one. In my opinion, he's going to have to start round one blazing. I mean, don't let that man get comfortable because if he gets comfortable, it's pretty much a wrap from that point with Devin Haney, unless you make the proper adjustments in the later rounds, which I'll say Devin Haney against Jorge Linares and Jojo Diaz started to have moments where he slowed down and he let Jojo and Jorge get too close to him, where he didn't look to be too comfortable there. When it seems as though Devin has an issue with inside fighting, which is where George Kambosos can take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? If he has that grit and if he doesn't respect Haney, which based off of the pre-fight interview that I seen about yesterday, I think it aired yesterday. He doesn't respect him, calling him boy and calling him, saying things like your father does all the talking for you. It seems as though he don't respect Haney and that Haney's going to have to prove to him that he's just as much of a man as George. So, yeah, man, but I love Kambosos and I would love to see him continue to have a successful career, beating some of the best fighters in the game today. George, to me, I feel as though he still has some things to prove because I also got to mention that Teofimo came in that fight. It was told that Teofimo came in that fight injured. And he had some type of lung issue. Can't remember the name of what it was. It was a long name. But, I mean, just to put it in hindsight, he had lung issues where fluid built up in between the pockets of his lungs, I think. And it makes me wonder if Teofimo were to be healthy going into that fight, whether or not it would have had the same outcome. That would have been the same outcome. So, like I said, I got Devin Haney winning that fight. And he has to do everything he can to keep the pace at a slower one during that bout. And don't allow George Kambosos to get inside, which is George Kambosos knows that's what he's going to have to do. Unless he does what he did against Teofimo, where there were spots in that fight where George made Teofimo come to him, which allowed him to get in momentarily and get right back out. So, you can also get a guy like that. A shorter guy can't, and it depends on their feet and how they move. A shorter guy at times can use lateral movement and can have his the taller opponent come to him, and he can outbox him that way by creating that type of that's essentially what I'm saying is have Tiafimo have Devin Haney come to him so that he can get in temporarily, throw some shots, rip some shots to him, and then get right back out. And just continue that cycle. But then there are going to be times where you're going to have to switch up your game plan so that you won't get timed and all of those things like that. So that's all I had to say, man. I have Devin Haney winning that fight. If George Kambosos wins, he's solidified in my book. And I won't have any more further questions because you beat Teofimo, and in which I can't discredit him off of the Teofimo win. And even though Teofimo was hurt, like I said, I still got some questions, but a win is a win. But if he does it again against Devin Haney, he's solidified. I'll feel a lot better about ranking him ranking him where he's currently ranked at now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, that's all I got to say on that. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below. I would like to know what you guys think. All right, peace.